I'm not perfect, God, neither are you. Tell these salty motherfuckers to tell the truth. Tell politicians to give up the rooms. Tell silent voters to stand up to the booth.
God, it's me. Can you hear my plea? Feeling like I'm lost in this world, can't you see? Demons creeping in, trying to take control of me. But I'm just trying to find the light, trying to break free. I'm not perfect, God, neither are you. But why you keep forgetting me? What did I do? Trying to have a convo, but you starting to preach. Feeling like I'm on a leash. Can't find no peace, can't find no peace. Living in hell, can't you hear my plea? I'm suffocating, can't you see? Why you let these false prophets roam free? While the real ones suffer, can't you see? I'm not perfect, God, neither are you. Why you keep targeting me? What did I do? Trying to have a convo, but you starting to preach. Feel like I'm on a leash, can't find no peace.
Hardest battles, strongest soldiers, greatest burden, broadest shoulders. Pushing up just like these boulders. This conflict like it's water, so this mercy, take my chalice. Seeking grace through all this malice. All of these salty motherfuckers to give out.
Politics and sinners, they all the same.
Got me stuck in this endless game. But I won't give up, won't play the role. Gotta do what's best
for my soul.
I'm not perfect, God. Neither are you. Tell these salty motherfuckers to tell the truth. Tell these politicians to give up the room. Tell silent voters to stand up to the booth. Living wild but truthfully free. God keep on watching over me. Take my pleas and keep the receipts. I just want all of humanity to be free and clean the seas.
Good morning. We're going to talk about 5 years later, truth, transparency, and the black future. But before we get into all that, we're going to get into D1 and You Are a Star remix.
I'm sitting to the max. I'm just out in space.
I ain't got time to be going back and forth with people that really ain't trying to grow. They say the whole game negative, with negativity ain't winning no more. Just that turn your whole life around music. I ain't scared, I ain't backing down music. I'ma call it how it is, you getting pimped. No, you ain't a boss, that's clown music. Rappers living a facade, you ain't make no money, go get you a job. I don't love this game, I don't love these streets, I don't love these fans more than I love God. When I tell the truth, they get them nervous. These people be empty beneath the surface. Total man upstairs, I'm at service. I don't love this paper more than purpose. Thought I was worthless, walk around this earth just like a clown in a circus. But I turned this life round from a loss to a win, nothing given, I earned this. This world had me drowning, I learned how to swim. Now I wake up every day knowing I'm him. With God as my guardian, I'm gonna win. And if you ain't got the sauce, you can't pretend. From the gutter, they counted you out, but you changing your life, you really a star. You think you winning because you got rich off of sinning and bought you a crib and a car. You glowing up and some people be hating, but you ain't gonna stop what you came here to do. You from the gutter, they counted you out, but you changing your life, for that I salute. Go ahead, okay, go ahead, okay, go ahead, hey, okay.
Represented to the max. I'm just out in space.
I'm standing on business and growing my business. I'm building my work from selling my merch. I'm feeding my hood. I'm putting me first. This is the first time in a long time they seen a black man that's free. That horse, that land, that's me. House like it can't be. Why would I sell my soul for money and gold when I can get all that from building community? I'm building immunity, defeating impurities. I'm on the wave, I'm wiping them out. I figured it out. I took the head, the sticks and the stones, and built me a house. I'm independent. I could rap this song at the click of a mouse. They gotta ask the master owner if it can come out. That ain't no freedom to me. I'm free as freedom could be. Yeah, I gave them even so they can get even, and I have a recruitment fee. You're welcome.
From the gutter, they counted you out, but you changing your life, you really a star. You think you winning because you got rich off of sinning and bought you a crib and a car. You glowing up and some people be hating, but you ain't gonna stop what you came here to do. You from the gutter, they counted you out, but you changing your life, for that I salute. Go ahead, okay, go ahead, okay, go ahead, okay.
Represented to the max. I'm just out in space.
almost D1. He was actually just here at the Rise and Remember memorial they just had for George Floyd. But I want to get into the murder of George Floyd. That's, you know, that's the whole thing. They call it a murder. And I want to get into it. But 5 years later of George Floyd.
This is a new day. This is something beautiful.
I know we have a long way to go, but we needed this today.
Carry on the legacy, you know, and that's the most important. Legacy.
Thanks for joining us. I'm Janice Shortle. This week marks 5 years since George Floyd was murdered at the hands of former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin, a day that changed our city forever and sparked a nationwide reckoning. Changes that are still to this day being seen and felt across the country and especially here in our community. And nowhere is that more noticeable than at 38th in Chicago, a place we know now as George Floyd Square, where he was killed. And that's where people came together last night to heal and to celebrate the person that Mr. Floyd was and the change that started because of his killing.
It feels like unity, and I do think that things like this can allow that healing to begin.
Just as the healing process has its ups and downs, so too does the process of change. Over the next half an hour, we're going to look at that evolution over the last 5 years. We're going to talk about the physical changes on the south side of Minneapolis, and we're going to talk about the regrowth and rebirth happening in that area. But we're also going to look at what has changed in our society since George Floyd's killing and the changes that have slowly begun to turn back, like diversity, equity, and inclusion. But we begin with the people who know the pain of George Floyd's death more personally than anyone else, his family, who says still to this day that pain hasn't gone away, nor has their will to fight for justice. Here's Lou Raguse.
One of the things I liked about his personality, he could galvanize a community.
Like most of George Floyd's family, his cousin Paris Stevens knew him by his middle name, Perry.
He was that go-to person, like, Perry, just call him, and he will get everybody together.
Paris and Perry grew up close, similar ages in a large extended family, both with a love for sports.
He wanted to be an NBA player and rapper, and I wanted to be in the WNBA.
Like most of America, Paris learned of the death of George Floyd through the video filmed by Darnella Frazier, sent to her by her uncle.
He said, "This is Perry," and my heart just sank. I was just in disbelief. I was like, is he really gone? I said, they really killed him on the streets in broad daylight, and they knew the cameras were rolling?
Grief is usually such a private thing, and I'm curious what it was like for basically everything about Perry's death to be so public.
You know, it's like a double-edged sword.
When the Charlotte resident visited Minnesota, she found comfort in George Floyd Square and the community surrounding 38th Street and Chicago Avenue, where he died at the hands of Minneapolis police.
They've kept that place sacred. I don't know if any other city would have been able to do what they've been able to do.
So how are you doing now?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm always optimistic. I'm a realist, but I'm an optimistic.
Paris has found peace in her work for Rise and Remember, the nonprofit formerly called the George Floyd Global Memorial. She's optimistic about change that's occurred in society in the aftermath of Floyd's murder.
Have we come far enough or not far enough?
There has been change. There definitely could be more change. People are more open now. It's not taboo to talk about your feelings and say in a corporate setting that, hey, I'm not being treated right.
Paris says family members hold each other up with encouragement through group texts as the inevitable cycle of emotions affect them this time each year.
Some days I do get angry that Perry isn't here, but I know that God has a purpose for us all. And I have to keep thinking about that this happened apparently for a reason.
Lou Ragoose reporting, well, the anger and frustration the family felt in the wake of Floyd's murder was shared by so many across the country and in our community, sparking incendiary protests throughout parts of Minneapolis and St. Paul. There was looting, there was arson, and yes, there was crime. And the recovery from all of that also hasn't been easy, and it's still happening today. Kent shows us the progress on the South Side and what's happening there.
Breaking ground in Minneapolis' Longfellow neighborhood tends to feel like breaking news.
You know what's happening with the framing?
Megan Moore is excited.
It has been a long time.
Because after years of painting visions of growth and hope,
to make it be a place where people feel safe and welcome.
Her neighborhood is now adding a new safe and welcoming space. This lot is being transformed into a temporary soccer field and outdoor gathering area with what remains of state funding and community fundraising to help revitalize Lake Street. Following the uprising and riots sparked by the murder of George Floyd.
The damages that we calculated were a little over $250 million just on Lake Street.
Yusra Mohamud
Yeah.
with the Lake Street Council says in the immediate aftermath of the devastation, some damaged and displaced businesses were revitalized and rebuilt thanks in part to an influx of support.
We were able to get $12 million in donations from 70,000 donors from all over the world.
But 5 years later, that funding is nearly gone and a lot of work remains.
This has never been done before.
Janice Downing is co-owner of the historic Coliseum building, which somehow withstood the outrage.
And so this is from the smoke and the fire coming up, the sprinklers coming down, and it created this image. And rather than painting over it everywhere, we intentionally kept this wall so that we could actually remember Mr. George Floyd.
Renovating the 85,000 square feet of business and community space here required $28 million, and filling it is still a work in progress.
It'll be a year on Juneteenth.
But she knows how lucky they are, considering that field across the street was once another historic building.
It's still surreal that that fell and this building stood. I can't reconcile that in my brain.
I think about it as an unnatural disaster that we experienced in the neighborhood.
Ingrid Rasmussen, lead pastor at Holy Trinity Lutheran Church.
It really is. It is an unnatural disaster.
And Meena Natarajan, executive director of Pangea World Theater, are still engaged in disaster response.
Almost immediately, we started having meetings outside the church, and we created this organization called Longfellow Rising to actually vision and dream and look at what this neighborhood could look like in the future.
And those meetings continued. We've met pretty much every week since 2020.
And 5 years later, those meetings are now happening inside the Coliseum.
There are no words. I am so grateful to know that people can meet in this space and do planning to build the spaces across the street.
And she's not just talking about that temporary soccer field.
This is the original site.
Wilmar Delgado is leading a new long-term, much more permanent development plan for the lot.
First floor commercial and 4 to 5 floors of housing on top. Low-income housing and market rate housing.
You want to recreate downtown?
Yeah, exactly. That is what we want to do. Because this used to be a downtown.
And it has the blessing of downtown neighbors. One of the 3 lots he purchased came from the church, which itself purchased the land from the nonprofit McGizzy in 2021, so it could afford to relocate.
Acting as a land steward or a land bank of sorts.
And Redesign Inc., which led the redevelopment of the Coliseum and a nearby dry cleaner, is lending its support on top of leading several other redevelopment efforts throughout the neighborhood.
This is 2800 East Lake, which is the former U.S. Bank site.
Jesse Roaming says for now, this block is being used for seasonal outdoor activations in order to buy time and money for development.
Whenever you're trying to do things that go against the way things are normally done, it's much more complicated than just one entity going it alone and just making something happen. So definitely takes a lot of time.
And speaking of time,
We're so really excited about this.
Pangea World Theater is in the process of moving its office into the old home of the Hub Bike Shop.
This is the phase 1 of our project.
And phase 2 includes the lot next door.
We're going to build a performance/rehearsal space here, which is going to be much bigger than our current rehearsal space.
Neither the theater nor the downtown development will happen quickly.
To complete, maybe between 5 to 6 years.
But it's a future worth waiting for.
It takes time and energy to sort of come out of trauma and disaster. And in some ways, we'll never come out of it. It's just part of our story now.
In downtown Longfellow.
It just feels great to be a part of that village.
Kent Erdahl, KARE 11 News.
You've probably heard about Boxable's flagship product, the Casita. Come on in.
I just want to stop it there for a minute because a lot of things have happened since George Floyd. And I know that a family member was confronted by a business owner from the square. And it's crazy how we think that, you know, all this money has been going to fix an area and change an area, but has it really changed? Because I will tell you, and I will be honest, is that we have done a step forward, but we took in more steps backwards. You know, and I really feel like we're, you know, I sit there and I remember when I got off the couch and I came out and I heard about Emmett Till, I heard about, you know, so many others that have died of racial injustice. But then there was people in my neighborhood and people that I was meeting that had their own injustices and had their own situations, but we were ignoring them. I don't know if it was because it was children. I don't know if it was because, you know, their criminal backgrounds. I don't know if it was because they just didn't like them. But I remember sitting outside the courthouse during the Derek Chauvin trial, and I met a woman named Zoya Code. See, Zoya sold me a video that she was trying to show other people in the BLM movement, you know, after George Floyd, because the same officer, Derek Chauvin, did something to her. And it made me like, damn. So why weren't anybody, you know, all these groups, all this money, but yet people are still going through, it's 5 years later. 5 years later, and people are still to this day debating and disagreeing, or, you know, sitting on the fence of what does accountability look like? What does truth and transparency look like? Because at the end of the day, I don't really think or believe there is actually what we see now is not accountability. What we see now is not responsibility. Because I'm going to be honest, a lot of people will call out, you know, they'll say things about Diddy, but what about the own guys in your neighborhood that do the same fucking things that P. Diddy does? The freak offs. You know, we got men out here, 40-year-old men out here having babies with a 14-year-old girl. And why isn't this? And you know what's crazy? He's engaged. And yet people don't want that. This is my whole thing. What happened to no justice, no peace? Because I will tell you right now, there is nowhere in Minnesota where we are getting justice when it comes to the poor and marginalized communities. I'm going to be honest, we are not seeing accountability and we are not seeing justice because what we are missing is truth and transparency.
Back to 38th in Chicago, where George Floyd was killed and where the memorial stands. There's work there, too. But even so, the future of that square is unclear. Mayor Jacob Frey and a portion of the city council wanted to open to traffic that intersection at 38th in Chicago and have the ability to shut it back down for events. But in February, a majority of the city council overrode the mayor's idea and put a veto on the mayor's plan, because they want to build a closed-to-traffic pedestrian mall to honor George Floyd. So Chris Warapski sat down with Mayor Frey and Councilmember Jason Chavez. They have different views on this to discuss the future of 38th in Chicago.
How do you move forward, given that state law will not allow a pedestrian mall if more than 50% of the property owners oppose.
Mayor, why can downtown, wealthier areas in the city of Minneapolis have a pedestrian mall, but George Floyd Square can't?
Interesting questions posed to each other. You can watch their entire conversation about the future of the square and our Care to Explain segment on Care 11 Plus right now. Worth a watch. And when we come back, we look at how far we've come in the last 5 years. We can't ignore that slow backtracking we're now seeing in some areas. So when we come back from commercial break, a country at a crossroads, some local perspective from activists on the rise and fall of diversity, equity, and inclusion amid a changing political landscape.
Crazy. Crazy.
Almost immediately following George Floyd's murder, the DEI movement took on a new sense of urgency. But in the last 5 years, a lot has changed there as well, shifting towards a new era that appears to abandon some of the progress that was made. Sammy Selena looks into the rise and fall of diversity, equity, and inclusion.
I can't breathe! During a dark time,
we're tired of it and we need justice.
So much came to light.
It became an opportunity to interrogate why this sense of invisibility remains.
Dr. Yohuru Williams is the founding director of the Racial Justice Initiative at the University of St. Thomas.
Corporations, other institutions were forced to look at the ways in which the murder of George Floyd was symptomatic of broader systemic exclusion of people of color.
Williams says for some, diversity, equity, and inclusion was seen as a light in all of that darkness.
Target being chief among them, who did some really incredible things. The downside, unfortunately, has been this backlash, this idea that somehow in so doing, those same organizations were discriminating against the white majority.
Our country is going to be based on merit.
But after President Donald Trump signed his executive order saying DEI programs divided Americans by race, DEI! DEI! Organizations, including Target, rolled back on their DEI programs, with advocates telling us it felt like betrayal.
I'm heartbroken. I was one of the small businesses that benefited from the initiatives that Target implemented after George Floyd died.
I reached out to several nonprofits to ask them what DEI means to them. None of them wanted to talk about it, but one Twin Cities nonprofit leader agreed to an anonymous interview.
Speaking out certainly on camera and identifying yourself or your organization is a risk.
We granted anonymity because they said that they're worried millions of dollars in federal funds will be taken away from the underserved people they help.
Families are relying on these resources to survive.
They said some of their money was frozen after that executive order, but it was thawed with stipulations.
They cannot be used to support any sort of illegal DEI. I think pretty much anything that we're doing could be deemed DEI.
But with DEI now in the shadows, conversations are stifled.
But it's easy to be cowardly. That's what worries me. It's easy not to speak up.
Steve Young was the dean of Hamline University School of Law and wrote guidebooks to ethical and social principles for businesses.
This fight over DEI ends up keeping us in the cul-de-sac. Circling. That's really bad for the country. We need to reframe somehow.
But that won't come if people can't talk about those three words: diversity, equity, and inclusion.
We should remember the words of Hubert Humphrey, the Minnesotan, the young mayor of Minneapolis, at the 1948 convention of his party, the Democratic Party. We must walk forthrightly into the bright sunshine of human rights.
Sammy Solina, Care 11 News.
Well, not everything has started to reverse course in the last 5 years, and still to come, the movement seeing momentum. As we head to a break, we share a message from Darnella Frazier. Darnella was the 17-year-old woman who recorded the video of George Floyd's murder that the world would see. In an Instagram post marking 5 years since Floyd's killing, Frazier promised to never be silent, writing, "I sometimes catch myself feeling guilty for trying to forget and block all of this out because it's such a traumatic experience in my life. But truthfully, speaking of George Floyd, she said, "I could never forget about you." Be right back.
We're Phoenix Energy, a
That's
family
crazy.
oil company focused on...
You know, I know they did interviews with Darnella, you know, and some people wanted to be anonymous for whatever reason. They said it was about federal funding, but I think it was way more about other shit. But do we really honestly need these diversity, equity, and inclusion? And I know I hear, you know, some small businesses, you know, especially like Black owned, were having the opportunity to have their products in like Target stores. And I know Walmart has done that. I know other big corporations have allowed Black business owners to, and that's my thing of it is of like, we out here wearing brands, but we're not building a legacy. You know, and that's the one thing that I sit here and think about, because like, where's the legacies? Where's the legacies? You know, we talk about everything else. We talk about Jordan, we talk about Coach, Chanel, but we do not talk about building legacies. You know, that's the one thing that I honestly want to say, right, is think about this. Go back into Black Wall Street. Go back into all the great things that we're only being told the truth about now. Why aren't we trying to build those things back up? You know, we categorize people as Black excellence and, you know, other goofy ass things. You know what I'm saying? But do we honestly make a difference? You know, we say we got this Black excellence, but they only got that Black excellence is because the state and city funded it. It's a government excellence. You know, they put y'all up as tokens to make it seem like you're making a difference. You know, that's the one thing that somebody had asked me is like, what do you feel as? I said, nothing. Nothing has changed in the last 5 years, because police brutality is at an all-time high way before George Floyd. And we're still not doing anything about it. We sit here and have galas. We sit here and have these numerous amount of events, right? But what changes? Nothing. Nothing. And that's honestly what I really want to say, right? When we sit here and we look at the last 5 years since George Floyd, we didn't defund the police. We gave them promotions and bonuses. We funded them at an all-time high to get militarized vehicles, to get drones. Like, we feed this militarized policing, but yet we sit here and complain about it. We sit here and say, why are they taking our loved ones who are sometimes unarmed? We call the police for a mental health situation, not to put somebody in a body bag. You're not the judge. You're not the jury. You're not the executioner. You're the police, a law enforcement agency who is supposed to protect and serve. But it seems like, I'm going to say it again, they do more ducking and swerving than they do protecting and serving. And I'm going to get back into this George Floyd, what happened 5 years later. We got about 6 minutes left.
Welcome back. Out of the pain that George Floyd's killing brought into our community, a powerful movement was born, rooted in the voices of a grieving public determined to demand change. And tonight we want to take a look at how that movement has not only endured, but is evolving, transforming outrage into action and sorrow into strength. Here's Jessica Hart.
Saving a Story.
Pillsbury House and Theater has 3 classrooms.
Starts in unexpected places.
This is where all of the offerings in George Floyd Square come when they can no longer live outside.
A single classroom, storing the stories of thousands.
We do this work that preserves our narrative as it changes, as it flows, as it evolves. We're here to keep and tell our own stories.
Janelle Austin is the executive director of Rise and Remember.
This one has never lived outside.
A nonprofit working to preserve the tributes to George Floyd.
Everything here is an extension of the memorial. It's an extension of the protests. It's an extension of the voices of the people.
As the number of offerings grew at 38th and Chicago, Janelle knew they had to be saved.
Us striving to keep everybody's story, keep everybody's voice, keep everybody's narrative is unprecedented.
Offerings in need of care.
We've had 3 pianos in George Floyd Square. This is piano number 1 that somebody took the liberties to chop up.
Offerings in need of repair.
The more time you spend with the offerings, the more you understand what's missing and where they go. It's like doing a giant jigsaw puzzle. Ooh, look, this piece here is a part of this piece here.
Nothing too small.
Somebody else might see this as a piece of paper that they could just throw in the garbage. We find the smallest things and we save them because everything was somebody's message.
Messages
Justice for George.
she wanted to share with Floyd's family.
The only person who replied back to me was Miss Angela Harrelson.
I am George Floyd's auntie. George Floyd's mother and I are sisters.
Angela Harrelson beams when she sees what was saved.
It's so important because it is history. It's history that cannot be erased, and we won't let anyone erase it. They have preserved a museum for George Floyd, for the movement to continue.
To date, we have probably archived maybe around 2,500 offerings.
Offerings shown at exhibits as they work to build something bigger.
Working long-term to actually build out a museum.
A museum filled with stories.
And inside the box,
one man's trash, another woman's riches.
So we've got a feather.
But nothing is richer than saving a story.
What would it feel like to wake up on your terms, work from anywhere, and actually enjoy what you do while helping others?
Whoops.
That is a cumbersome job, but thankful that she's doing it, and someday maybe it has a more permanent home for the world to see. We want to thank you for joining us tonight, for taking the time to look back and look forward as we mark this difficult anniversary. We want to leave you tonight the same way we started, by honoring and remembering George Perry Floyd and the movement that the murder sparked. Thanks for joining us. Have a good night. Take
That's crazy. 5 years later. And to be honest, what has changed? I know people's bank accounts have changed. I know people's that's about it. The streets haven't, our neighborhoods haven't, our communities haven't. More, I don't know if it's just a spotlighted thing more or whatever, but police brutality is at an all-time high. We have violence at an all-time high. And something that I want to talk about tomorrow, because I want to see, if a lot of people don't know, Larry Hoover, the leader, the founder, one of the co-founders of Gangster Disciples, Growth and Development, was pardoned, federally commuted. And supposedly, I've seen somewhere that today in Illinois, something will be announced. So it's been curious to see. I know he's been locked up since 1973. So it'll be curious. A man that I don't even know has had a big ass effect on my life. So to never meet a man and he's had so much to change my life, that's for sure. It is, and it is sad, and I'm angry too because I think about the last 5 years and how many lives have been lost, and it's a lot. It's not just something that we can never forget. But then I think about other shit too. I mean, I was 43 when George Floyd happened. Hey, my birthday was that month, so it was me. But I was 43. But then I think about all the things that I've learned, and I wish that I would have taught my kids. I wish I would have. Instead, I instilled. I don't know what the hell I instilled in them, to be honest. I just wish that I know what I know now, back then, because I would be such a different person. I would be such a different person, and it's just sad to think about the lives who have tried to make change, and we've lost them. I don't know how many people been close to me. Even especially inside the movement, how many lives have been lost in the last? I'm just talking about not since Michael Brown or Ferguson or any of that. I'm talking about since May 25th, 2020, and how many lives have been lost. Because last night, 3 years ago or 5 years ago, the 3rd precinct was breached. A lot of people aren't going to remember that because it's crazy going through the memories that, through your whatever social media apps like Instagram or Facebook or Snapchat, but the memories, and they always go back to 5 years ago. A lot of them do. And just to see that, I was with people that wanted to make a change. I don't know if they were from Minnesota. I don't know what their intentions were. I know I was out there with people that I felt like wanted to make a difference. I didn't know what I know now. I'll say this. I will say that is that when we know better, we do better. And that's something that I honestly believe in because we see it every day. Every day people are nobody, that's I hope, and a lot of people are gonna be like, damn, but what about George Floyd? I hope that the feds, that Donald Trump pardons Derek Chauvin so that he's got to come back to Minnesota. So he got to deal with Minnesotans. and let's see how much our correctional officers protect a cop, somebody that works for law enforcement in Minnesota. And so I want him to come back. Come back. I bet you we won't close Stillwater then. I bet you we won't close Stillwater, even though he's going to go to Oak Park. But I do hope that Trump, and I have my own reasons, but I hope that Trump pardons, commutes, whatever you want to call it, Derek Chauvin. So I want to get into something that was a few years, I shouldn't even say a few years ago, I guess it was a few years ago. It's an episode that I did, is that it was, I fear I may have integrated my people into a burning house, Martin Luther King Jr. So I want to get into that episode. This was like 2 years ago. And this was, yeah, to be honest, I don't even think I remember because of my stroke. I don't think I remember. I mean, it's going through the memories and just seeing things. It's like, damn, all the things that I've seen in the last 5 years. And to the Urban Conservative, my name is Chaz Neal. I'm an activist based out of Minneapolis, Minnesota. And we're being brought to you today by the Leon Block Independent Media. We are all about transparency, truth, and accountability. The Urban Conservative is all about the news on the streets, gun violence, crime, politics, and how we solve our community's most hardest issues. How can we change our communities for the better? Let's get back to family, community, foundational roots. Let's make sure nobody gets left behind. Shut up and help. I wanted to just really get into some things today. First, I want to go back to an interview with Richard Pryor with Bill Boggs, which was a very interesting interview. So,
why is this guy fooling around on television when he's making a brilliant movie like this? Tell me about that. Why'd you ever bother with TV with all the censors and network executives when you're so good and you're gonna have one of the most brilliant comedic careers since Merman? I mean, it's gonna be great. Tell me.
Tell you what.
Tell me what you do when you've had 3 hours sleep.
I get 5 more hours of sleep.
Want to take over for a while? Let me go in the back.
I get plenty of sleep.
You do?
Yes, I
Sleep's
love
important.
it. Yes, I love it.
It's cozy.
That's nice.
Curl up with a pillow.
I prefer a woman.
You know something? So do I. It's one of the reasons why I was out so late last night, too, as a matter of fact. I don't particularly want to be serious in this, but there are some things I am wondering about, though.
Okay.
Yeah, that same question about why mess around with TV where you got restrictions and executives?
$2 million.
That'll do it, I guess. Yeah, that'll do it. Well, I thought, I checked this out with.
I was going to have a chart on the show. They wouldn't let me have it. I was going to have a chart. I was telling someone else this. I was going to have a chart to show that as the shows got worse, my money got larger. I call it integrity chart. So integrity 3, money 12.
I got it. By the time that this recent series was finished, what was your integrity mark?
I think my integrity was about 4.6.
On a 10 scale?
On a 5.
On a 5. You didn't do too badly.
No.
Well, I checked it with Gwen Barrett and with Gary Hoffman, and we want you to know that this appearance at midday today, you can do anything you want. I don't want you to feel restricted. If there's anything they wouldn't let you do on NBC, we'll let you do it here.
Thank you.
Would the lady in the blue dress please come forward?
The television thing, a lot of people said it was canceled, and the show wasn't canceled. We only did 4 shows, and that was our intent because it's hard work trying to do something and people telling you can't.
It must be tough, looking over your shoulder.
And they lie. Grown men lie to you, to your face.
Like what? Can you give me an example?
Well, we'll fix that. It's not our fault. And I'll be right back. I'll be with you Wednesday. We'll talk about it.
And then they'll go to somebody else.
Fix it. Make sure that doesn't get on, okay? Don't tell him I said so.
Right? And then they look you in the face, and I want to hit them in the face, And you can't do that because the court, they sue you now.
Yeah, that's this new thing.
Yeah, it's $60,000 for a left hook. It's not worth it.
No. Well,
and plus, you might get dusted, too. And it's very embarrassing. You don't always win them fights when you be hitting somebody.
No.
It's very embarrassing to have an old white man whoop you at NBC. All through the halls.
So how'd you leave it with these characters?
Well, I left it like I went. I left everything intact, said so long, and thank you very much, and see you at the Bank of America.
Do you think that based on your experiences on television that you'll get back into it? I mean, if the money is right, would you go back? Or?
It's not about that. It's mostly about what I really want to do is just do the show. I have to do some specials. So what I'm going to do is do the specials and give it to them, and they can do with them what they want.
Yeah. What kind of stuff are they giving you the most trouble about in terms of censorship? Nudity or
like waking up?
Just getting out of bed in the morning?
They just have it in their minds that they want to hire somebody, but they don't want any communication made. They want to make you into something I don't know. It's like, I guess it goes into white homes. They're worried about that a lot.
What are they? Yeah, you know, it's funny. Gwen Barrett, our associate producer, sometime producer, is black. You know, and Carmen Matias is
You have to
Hispanic.
be colored to be on television. You can't,
Yeah, colored.
Yeah, she can't be black. You have to have a little color in there. Just a taste.
Tad.
Yeah, just to keep it interesting for America.
Yeah. Well, she said, we were talking about your humor, that your humor offends white people, and I'm not that easily offended. Like, I'm not coming from a spot where Richard Pryor is going to offend me. I think you have humor that makes us see a lot of the truth and laugh at things we wouldn't normally laugh at. I think that's part of what you're doing. What do you think that these executives are afraid you're going to do to white America?
Probably stop some racism.
Stop racism?
Yeah.
Talk about it.
Probably afraid of that, because then people don't hate each other, and people start talking to each other, and then they start talking to each other, they find out who's the problem.
Which is?
Greedy people.
Greedy people.
Right. We talk about it.
I have a couple things I want to ask you there. Do you really think that some of the guys that you dealt with at NBC, no names, right? Because there's lawsuits for that too, that some of these guys really want to promote racism actively, or is it a subconscious?
I just think it's part of capitalism, is to promote racism, you know, right? In order to make things work. If you feel better because you're white and you can get a job, you use that. I mean, you know,
Right.
Absolutely.
Say, I'm sorry, Jack, but shit, they say I'm white. I'm going to use this.
Right.
Get this job. I'm hungry. You know? But and that separates people. So they keep people separated. And that keeps them from thinking about the real problem. That's as simple as I see it. Probably it's not that simple.
Now, all right, you and I are about the same age, right? We're in our mid-30s. How long is it going to take before guys who think like you, and I say guys who think like me, people who don't want to have racism in the country, people who don't want to be oppressing any minority, whatever it is, sexual, whatever minority, really get into positions of power and can change things?
You can't get in a position of power, it seems, if you think like that. It seems that the only time you get in a position of power is if you like the people that are in power.
Right.
To me, I mean, that's the way it goes. I mean, people that get to become executives become like the people that were already executives.
I don't know, maybe
they go in with good intentions, but it eats them up. It's like a cesspool. You know, it just gets on you and it starts
system
eating.
levels.
Pretty soon it's
Is
all.
that what the cesspool sounds like?
Yes.
Right.
All right, we'll be back right after this. Here's a good guy.
So it's crazy to me how, as time and history has gone on, has anything really changed? You know, and I do a lot of research and reading about the 60s, the 50s, the 40s. And honestly, Black people had it better then. There was more community, there was more unity, there was more people caring about each other, because what you're seeing now is an era, a generation of lazy, you know, where we think is lean, is sipping on lean is cool, or we think that sipping on taking these perks and all different type of drugs, we just think that that's better. No, it's not. It's not better. It's not better at all. And we have to face the fact that we as a generation can't change this. We can, but do we have everything that we need to change our community? And I want people to think about that, because what does it really take? You know what I'm saying? What does it really take? And this next story we're going to talk about has a little bit to do with me. As people know that I have a trial starts tomorrow. And I'm just going to get into a little bit of it, not everything. But I want people to pay attention, because I am going to get in depth and detail. So want people to just pay attention.
I need your driver's license. What's that? Thank you. I want to be on that camera over there. So, you be recording up there. I don't want my face on camera. Because I don't know what the fuck's going on. Have a seat. Just to make sure no one else in the car. She's good. I'll take it. No, don't worry about it. Come on. I need your driver's license. What's that? You're going to give me your driver's license or I'm going to take you to jail for trucking. You're driving a vehicle. You're going to go to...
Take me to jail. Just here, come to here. Come where I'm at. What the fuck?
Good.
You know who I am, right?
No, I have no idea.
My name is Katie Wright.
Okay.
And you guys killed my son, and I'm going to videotape it. And if you take me to jail, I will sue you. I don't care. Do not ever touch me again. I don't care. Don't touch me again. You can send me a ticket, but don't touch me again. I'm not under no. You don't have that. No, I didn't have to get pulled over. You do not. Legally, you cannot ask me who I am. No, you can't. No, you can't.
Katie Wright, I'll send you a ticket in the mail.
Send me a ticket in the mail.
Well, then I'm going to send you another one. I will. I sure will.
Now, I want people to look at this because this man literally crossed an interstate to do something illegal because Katie Wright didn't do anything wrong. And that's the whole part for me is that Officer Daniel Lindstrom has never been writ up. There's never been any kind of accountability. There's never really been any even transparency when it came to this whole brutality. And then when you go back, because I want you got to listen closely because he's literally told, don't go anywhere.
Make sure no one else in the car. She's good. I'll take it. No, don't worry about it. Come on.
Now, you heard that, right? You are my tripping? No, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Now, also, Daniel Lindstrom was in training. That was his field training officer. He didn't even listen to his field training officer. Now, but yet still Brooklyn Center hasn't done anything. Now,
Come to here. Come where I'm at. What the fuck?
she's on the phone with Tashira Garraway.
You know who I am, right? My name is Katie Wright. And you guys killed my son, and I'm going to videotape it. And if you take me to jail, I will sue you. I don't care. Do not ever touch me again. I don't care. Don't touch me again. You can send me a ticket, but don't touch me again. I'm not under no. You don't have that. No, I didn't have to get pulled over. You do not. Legally, you cannot ask me who I am. No, you can't. No, you can't.
Katie Wright, I'll send you a ticket in the mail.
Send me a ticket in the mail.
Well, then I'm going to send you another one. I will. I sure.
You know, that whole, he went against even Brooklyn Center. So, you know, all officers take an oath. He went against his own oath as a police officer to protect and serve the community. And that's not what he did.
Leader and pillar of our community as well. So thanks for everybody that's coming out. One last thing that I would like to add before, or if any of our community would like to say any other words.
That's what you get.
I know. Just to add one more thing, Mayor Mike Elliott did come out last night at 12 o'clock at midnight. I think that shows a lot of initiative for mayors across the world. Maybe they need to take some notes from him. He actually sat here and spoke with us and trying to figure out ways that we can continue to go forward with this. He said that they will release the body camera footage, and that he will personally also as well look into the investigation. So we'd like to thank Mayor Mike Elliott too for everything that he's doing.
We will now call forward an activist in the community, Chaz Neal. Thank you.
My name is Chaz Neal, and what I want to say is that, when we talk about accountability and transparency, this is one thing that we're talking about. We don't want to defund the police. What we want to happen is we want change. We want reform. We don't want this same thing to keep on happening. I just sent earlier this morning, I sent an email to Mayor Mike Elliott, and stating their code of ethics for police officers, their oath. And he went against that oath. Because when he got out of his car, it wasn't with tenderness, it wasn't with kindness, it wasn't with integrity. He got out of that car with vengeance and wanted to intimidate and fear and put fear in a family that is already going through pain and trauma. And we sit there and allow it. That's why we went to Keith Ellison's, because we need change. We went up to the state capitol today to ask him, you're out here giving more money to persecute our youth, but you don't even want to persecute these police officers. And you say you want to get them off the streets? Well, show us, because Mayor Elliott is showing us that he wants to get these bad officers off the streets. So don't say you're people over politics when you're choosing policies over people. Thank you.
They may, a lot of these people in the political seats may be upset at the community's response and how we respond. But at this point, the community's backs is up against the wall. We have tried. We have done it their way. We have begged. We have pleaded. We have done everything. And now we have a mother that lost her son a year ago, literally get physically assaulted just for sitting back and watching an officer carry out their duties. And if they were doing everything that was fine.
Now, I'm going to show you something that happened just a few minutes after that. Let's see this. This is, there wasn't none of them here. None of this. They brought a whole, but I messed up. Oh, wow. Let's see this. This is, there wasn't none of them here. None of this. They brought a whole, but, right, this is crazy. Let's see this. This is, there wasn't none of them here. None of this. They brought a whole, but, right, this is crazy. All right, this shit coming down anyways. This shit definitely coming down. This shit definitely coming down. This shit definitely coming down.
Very tough hand over here. Dumbass.
So y'all ready for this again, huh? Because you see what happened May 28th, 2020? That's what's going to happen here. That's what's going to happen here, so get ready for it. Get ready for it. Get ready for it. Yeah. Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. Do your job then, bitch. Yeah, I don't give a fuck. I'm going to stay right here. Yep, give me up. Right here. Right here. right here. Yep. Yeah, better get it. Yep. They say it's on camera, right? I have the body cam footage. I have the pictures of where they say that I spit on the officer, not on his hands, but it hit his boots and his pants, right? His boots and his pants. You never see in none of the video, do you ever see any formalities, any type of anything come out of my mouth. You hear a sound. You hear a sound. Now, in Daniel Lindstrom's case, you have footage that of him actually grabbing and assaulting a resident, community member. And yet they want to prosecute me. They want to persecute community members and not people that are supposed to actually protect and serve. Protect and serve. Because what the crazy thing about this whole situation is that day we're out there for a press conference, not a protest, a press conference. You had Fox 9, Care 11, Star Tribune, Listen Media. You had so many different media out there. Also, I think Star Tribune. I think I just said that. But some other things, because this video that you're watching went viral with over 5 million views. Is that why Brooklyn Center charged me? I've always wondered that. Was this ever about accountability? Because if it was about accountability, then why isn't Daniel Lindstrom also being charged? So, I want to show y'all another. This one is 29 seconds.
Of it is, if people want to know why I did what I did, because that's what family does. I am my brother's keeper. Damick is my family. You touch Damick, you got to touch me. So I really wanted to fucking punch the police officer. So instead of punching him, I did what's better, because of it is, if people want to know why I did what I did, because that's what family does. I am my brother's keeper. Damick is my family. You touch Damick, you got to touch me. So I really wanted to fucking punch the police officer. So instead of punching him, I did what's better, because I'll tell you right now, there ain't nothing more degrading than being spit on. And I wanted to degrade him. So yes, I'll take mine. And here's the thing of it is, they want to come out here and arrest me for it.
So what's crazy is they don't even give the whole context of the video. They take bits and pieces of something that I said and try to use that against you. And I want people to learn from this, because either way, if I'm found guilty, I'm standing for what I believe in. You know what I'm saying? This just only shows of how much they dislike accountability. They dislike transparency. And this whole get up. And this is, I want to show you something else. Let me get it set up first. So, told you, you're going to get transparency out of me. You ain't going to get it out of them. So, this is, I guess that's a spot right there. And then I guess another spot. And then right there, I guess the spit. And then right there. So my question is, they're saying that right there is these two little marks right here. I don't even know if y'all can see that or not, what I'm doing. But this right here. Okay, what's going on? You can't really see what I'm doing. Never mind. But so right here, you have two little spots. I asked them did they ever take DNA. They never took DNA off it. So how do we even know that's spit? How do we even know that's my saliva? And again, like I said before, that they never once have anything showing, even right here, where they say is, do you see anything? This is the picture that they're taking. I gotta show it. Oops. This ain't as easy as I thought it would be. I guess I didn't need y'all to help more than what I thought I did. So this is what they're using to say that right here is, do you see anything? That's what I don't understand. Do you see anything? Oh, yeah, that's Star Tribune and them right back there. Matt Branch. Great guy. Okay. And I'm not calling any witnesses. I'm not calling anything. No, but I am going to call myself on the stand. I am going to testify. Yeah, I'm damn sure going to testify on my own behalf. So that's the one thing that I do have the right to do as my own person, my own being, is to tell my side of the story, tell what really happened, not the narrative that they want to put out here. I guess this video. Yeah, so now when you see this, that's nobody's coming up yet, so they're closing the gates. Not really good. I just wanted to show you guys a little bit from that. So I want to get back into Minneapolis and the last 5 years, right? So this is about the 3rd precinct, not just so much about what happened, but more about what's happened since, over the last 5 years. And, it's still empty. It still sits there, but this is about the 3rd precinct.
To go tonight, rioters set fire to the Minneapolis Police Department's 3rd precinct, a lasting scar from a week of protests, demonstrations, and riots following the police murder of George Floyd in May of 2020. Now, that building sat abandoned, heavily damaged for years, but that's about to change. Let's bring in Fox 9's Paul Bloom now. So, Paul, you were covering those riots. What do you remember about that night?
Yeah, Amy, good evening to you. That night still difficult for a lot of us to talk about. Reporters on the scene. I've asked police officers to discuss what it was like that night. Demonstrators, protesters there. It's hard. It was a traumatic experience. I remember arriving there in the early evening. The sun's going down. kept becoming more chaotic, more intense. I remember the fires all around. Buildings nearby were set on fire. I distinctly remember a car in the middle of the street that had been set ablaze, and then someone, I think, from probably one of the auto parts stores that had also been looted kind of rammed this gas container canister right into the car that was already on fire, and I'm kind of taking cover thinking the whole thing could blow up. We were there into the evening. You may remember this, Amy. At some point during that night, the city of Minneapolis had said that they believe there might be a gas leak underneath the 3rd precinct as these flames were starting to take hold of the building itself. And our newsroom made the decision to pull back some of the crews that were in there, including myself. And I ended up reporting deep into the night from a firehouse about a mile away. And what was so sad about that in terms of, putting out fires is those fire trucks just sat there for the entire time of my live presence there. There was an ambulance staging area in case people were hurt. They would send the ambulances in, get out because they were being attacked. A real difficult night. And I'll be honest with you, Amy, as I kind of working on some stories this week in connection to it, to go back and watch, what we call the air checks, the old newscasts and the reporting on the scene. It's still really unbelievable to think about that happened in our community 5 years ago now.
Yeah, it takes you right back looking at that video. So here we are. It's 5 years later, Paul. The city now just repurposing that building. How will it be used?
Yeah, great question. It has sat abandoned, vacant. We described it as a scar. We just saw some video. The city of Minneapolis put out a recent walkthrough of that building. They're converting it. They've officially renamed it. It's no longer the Minneapolis 3rd Precinct Police Station. If you Google map it or whatever, it's now called the Minneapolis Democracy Center. They've cleaned it out pretty well. It's still scarred on the outside. Inside, they've gutted it. They've cleaned it out. They're preparing it. It will be the hub for the elections office. There is the video. It's a video handout. They wouldn't let us inside necessarily take our own video, but you can see that was once the 3rd precinct. No more. It was gutted. It was looted in the aftermath of those fires. And now they're in the design phase coming up this summer, and then they hope to get into a full construction mode next year and get that open for the voters in Minneapolis.
And real quick, Paul, 6:30, you're going to have a little bit more on this, right?
Yeah, that'll be my full story. Really intense look back. Those moments, the police scanner radio that we have. We talked to Chief Arredondo about the decision to abandon that building and turn it over to rioters as the flames engulfed that building. We talked to a state official at the time who's critical of Minneapolis. But yeah, let's take a look back 5 years. We'll do that together at 6:30.
Okay, thank you, Paul. Appreciate it.
You bet.
5 years ago tonight, rioters set fire to the Minneapolis Police Department's 3rd precinct. The building sat abandoned and heavily damaged for years.
And it's a lasting scar from a week of protests, demonstrations, and riots, all following the police murder of George Floyd back in May of 2020. The city is now repurposing the building as an election hub and a democracy center.
But as Paul Bloom tells us tonight, it is a building that continues to haunt those who wear the badge.
You typically can see the Minneapolis skyline, and it's stunning.
The building at the corner of Minnehaha and East Lake Street in the heart of South Minneapolis will soon reopen to the public.
So in the upcoming weeks, months, we will start to see windows and things that like this being replaced.
This video, taken by the city of Minneapolis last month, shows the progress of renovations in a now gutted and cleared out former 3rd precinct.
Really
wow.
Really good feel for what the other floors will feel like.
Oh, yeah, this is really
because the windows are still intact up here.
It took years of debate before the city decided to turn the burned out precinct into an election hub and community space. But it will take much longer for the wounds of the past to heal.
It is hard for some of these officers to drive past that old police precinct. It has been incredibly traumatizing.
5 years ago, May 28th.
Okay, we just got it confirmed. This is the 3rd precinct that is on fire right now, and a liquor store nearby as well.
The world watched on live television as rioters set the 3rd precinct on fire.
That crowd is growing by the second. It is getting large around there. It's like a spectator sport for those people right there now looking at the 3rd precinct.
We later learned that city leaders ordered officers to evacuate.
That was my desk.
Richard Walker told Fox 9 that many of his fellow officers sent final text messages to their loved ones in case they did not make it out as demonstrators pressed inside.
I've never seen a look of desperation, a look of a sense of loss of hope, and more importantly, a look of disbelief that we were giving up a precinct.
An after-action review commissioned by the city ultimately faulted top officials for poor communication.
I need to know who's in charge of the details here.
A lack of coordination.
We're protecting firefighters. They have the scene under control, but if protesters start making their way east, we won't have enough.
And a failure to effectively follow its own emergency operations plan during the large-scale demonstrations that led to the fires, the rioting, and looting across Minneapolis that destroyed scores of businesses and resulted in hundreds of millions of dollars in damages, including what happened right here at the 3rd.
Get a citywide tone right now in our loss of the 3rd precinct.
The 3rd precinct has been compromised.
After the fires died down, the Fox 9 investigators obtained police radio scanner traffic from the frantic night, including then Chief Medaria Redondo's somber final call.
I have a mandate by my 430,000 bosses to keep our city as safe as I can.
He recently explained what guided his decision-making under duress.
I had one goal, and that was no more funerals. I didn't want any loss of life, a civilian life, and I did not want to lose any of my officers from an in-the-line-of-duty death. And so that became my sole focus.
Did it have to happen? Did the police have to abandon? Did the city have to abandon the 3rd?
There's no way I would have done that. And I said it then and I'll say it now. There's no way.
You don't abandon the 3rd?
No.
Now the Bloomington Police Chief, Booker Hodges, was the Assistant Commissioner of the Minnesota Department of Public Safety in 2020. And there are enough resources locally in this state to have handled what was in front of them.
I think it could have been handled a lot differently. This narrative that there would have had to been a loss of life, I don't buy that.
Hodges took charge of incident response from the city inside the state's multi-agency command center the day after the 3rd was torched. Was Minneapolis aggressive in asking for help, or did they think they could handle the situation on the streets?
I think initially they thought they could deal with it. Right. And again, I'm not slighting any of the officers. These are all leadership decisions. And I think it didn't become apparent to them until probably that late Wednesday, Thursday, that they needed some assistance with dealing with some of this stuff.
Another outside review found poor communication between the state and city delayed setup of the incident command structure as large swaths of Minneapolis burned. How about the fires? I remember your boss at the time, John Harrington, saying it was different. All of the fires, the arson, they were chasing flames and firefighters had to put out fires. Obviously the 3rd would be burned.
Fires, it was terrible, man. And these people just kept setting fires, right? There was people who would put bricks on pedals of cars, fill it full of gas and launch it towards police officers. They were shooting at the fire trucks, right? So the fire piece was something that was difficult to deal with.
For Hodges, who has studied the history and dynamics of large-scale riots, the lasting image of that police station burning in his hometown is too much to take.
It is embarrassing, right? And I think, but it's embarrassing because I know the quality of law enforcement officers that we have in this state, and I will put our police officers in this state against any state in this country, despite what happened here. But to have this happen here, it just, I don't know, words. It's been 5 years and I still don't have the words to really accurately describe how I feel about it.
Does it feel like 5 years?
No, it doesn't. It did, you know, I mean, some respects it's just like a couple of weeks ago, I can't believe it's been 5 years.
In the aftermath of the unrest, hundreds of Minneapolis police officers fled the department, many claiming post-traumatic stress.
Police officers here, especially 5 years later, by and large, do not feel like their humanity has ever been acknowledged.
A new chief arrived a couple years later, attempting to rebuild the agency against the headwind of some in the community arguing to dismantle and defund MPD.
So it's really a perfect storm of challenges that the officers were facing, not to mention individual things that happened. The terror that they had as people fleeing from the 3rd precinct, feeling just completely helpless. I mean, I do think in a lot of ways we have not done enough to try and deal with the health and wellness of our officers.
Those officers will eventually report to a new precinct on Minnehaha Avenue. As their old home transforms, the trauma and the second guessing persists.
There wasn't a mass loss of life. There wasn't a significant loss of life. So in that sense, it's just property.
Yeah.
Is that something you're willing to accept?
No. And there's a lot more property that got damaged than should have got damaged. Right. And I think there are decisions that probably could have been made earlier that probably would have prevented some of this stuff from taking place.
As for the former 3rd Precinct building, the city says design work should be this summer before moving on to construction of that Democracy Center conversion next year. As for the last 5 years, 3rd Precinct police officers have been working out of a temporary downtown location. Paul Bloom, Fox 9.
So that was a report about the last 5 years at the 3rd Precinct of Minneapolis. And, we sit here and what has changed? I sincerely want to ask people, what do you feel has changed? And I think to myself, nothing, not much. If anything, not much. Because we have all these resolutions proclaiming racism a public health crisis, but yet that's all we see is racism. That's all we see is public health crises. That's all we see. And yet a lot of people don't do anything. And it makes me wonder of why do our kids have to continually go through these things? I sit here and I think about the times that I had to go through when I was growing up. I remember, Rodney King. And I honestly feel like I don't remember it like that because it didn't happen in Minneapolis. I remember, the Twins winning the World Series in '87. I remember the Twins winning in '91. I remember the Timberwolves going to the Western Conference Final against the Lakers back in '04 when we had Marbury, Garnett, KG. It was the time of the shit. I remember when the Vikings lost in the playoffs. They were undefeated the whole year, and we lost because he missed that kick. And that's just a habit that we have in Minnesota. We'll see you next year. We're not, unless you're a women's sport, because our women are doing fine. Lynx are champions. The Minnesota Frost have won 2 championships in a row in women's hockey. So it's not like Minneapolis and Minnesota isn't a winner. It's just that when it comes down to our men's sports, who really wants to come to Minnesota? To be honest, who wants to come here and, we talk about that Minnesota nice, but is it really Minnesota nice? No, it's not. There's so many things that go on and we don't want to talk about. We don't want to talk about all the waste and fraud that is happening. We don't want to talk about all the money that we've seen that was supposed to go to communities so they could change. It didn't happen like that. It didn't happen like that. It didn't happen but I think a lot of people envisioned, you know what I'm saying? I mean, I didn't jump off the couch or, do any of that bullshit. I could have done more. Could have done, I literally look back at my my memories. You know what I'm saying? I look back at memories, I look back at and just see nothing's changed. Nothing. If anything, we're easier on criminals. We're lenient on criminals. And it's like, for what? Like, why are we so, I mean, I just I don't get it. Seriously, I don't understand it. I just don't. I don't get it. I don't get it. You know, you look about what's going on in Rochester. You know, why aren't we having more people speak out? You know, are we okay with things like this that go on in our communities? And I know people are going to say, you spend too much time on that. I want everybody to be safe. Everybody to be safe. You know, and it's crazy that I wonder if that wedding is still going on. Or if everything that came out, they canceled it. Because, yeah, I just don't understand it. And the little girl was, when she got pregnant, she was 14. He didn't come get charged because somebody seen something and they said something. And maybe it did happen like that at the hospital, or, you know, they asked who potentially the fathers could be. And he was potentially one of them. And he was like, no, it's not me. It's not me. But it was. And we sit here, and that's the one wild thing. I will literally, like, there is, I don't know how many people in Rochester that I know that know him. You know, or know other men in Rochester that harm our communities, and people don't say anything because you rejoice with them. You sit there and you celebrate more than trying to correct the issue, correct the problem. And I really got to ask people, like, where are we going wrong as a community? Where are we going wrong as a society when we as people, we can't even, you know, that's the one. I'm going to look her up real quick. I seen he didn't have nothing on his. What is it? Alexis Glaze. Let me see. Damn, she put that's wild. Right there in the, that is, you know, that's crazy. So this picture was taken in 2023, October. And this post was just January 3rd. I can't wait to spend the rest of my life with you. That's wild. Yeah, everything is, I see there's nothing newer than October 23rd. So it makes me wonder if the person knew and didn't want to say nothing, because yeah, it's kind of wild, and I really don't understand it. But then I had 3 mutual friends with the guy, and it's like, then this one I thought was crazy, Marina Gill, and I think that is. But just all the friends, and nobody says nothing. You know, that's what, like, I keep on asking myself is, when are we going to finally, we see something, we say something. And I don't think it'll ever be that way. I don't think it'll ever be that way. I don't think it'll ever be that way. And that's sad. That's sad. That's sad. That's sad. It's hell. Play a little clip about Larry Hoover.
Commuting the federal sentence. We begin with breaking news. He was one of the most notorious gangsters in Chicago. Tonight, President Trump is commuting the federal sentence of Gangster Disciples co-founder Larry Hoover.
Suzanne Lemonniot is in our newsroom. Suzanne, this move doesn't mean he'll be getting out of prison.
Erica, Joe, legal experts see this as a potential hollow victory. Now, while Hoover may be released from federal prison, he still has a 200-year state sentence for which a parole board has already denied early release. In 1993, Hoover spoke to former CBS News Chicago reporter John Davis, and at that time, Hoover was 42 years old and had already served 20 years in prison.
I've done my time. I paid my debt to society.
That was Larry Hoover more than 3 decades ago. At that time, the leader of the Gangster Disciples and convicted murderer told our John Davis he had a lot of time to think about ways to stop the gang violence on the streets of Chicago.
One teenager don't like the other teenager because the way he wears his hat, because his ideology is different from his. A disciple don't like a vice lord. We all black people. It's no different.
At that time, Hoover, also known as King Larry, admitted being part of a fragile gang truce in the city and organizing a protest over plans to close healthcare clinics in African-American neighborhoods. Ron Safer, the lead prosecutor in Hoover's federal trial, reacts to news Hoover's life sentence has been commuted by President Trump.
I was disappointed. I do not think that this is an appropriate end to the Larry Hoover story, at least the federal part of it.
Safer says Hoover was perhaps the most notorious criminal the state of Illinois has ever known.
He was convicted of running a continuing criminal enterprise that had approximately 30,000 members across 28 states, selling over $100 million worth of drugs in the state of Illinois alone each year. And he ran that entire operation with ruthless efficiency from prison, where he was serving a state sentence for double murder.
Safer also told us about Hoover being recorded, saying teenagers needed to sell drugs for his criminal organization. The recording was made a year after the Gangster Disciple leader was interviewed on CBS Chicago.
There was another tape where Larry Hoover said, "You have to share your drugs with these children." And I'm talking about 12 years old, 13 years old, 14 years old, so that they can sell it and they can have something. And he said, make them know that with you, they are somebody, and without you, they are nobody.
Meantime, shortly after the commutation announced, Hoover's son posted this picture on Instagram. That's a White House official holding a copy of the commutation. Hoover's attorneys say they're thrilled he's going to be released from federal custody, but again, he still has a 200-year sentence to serve for his crimes in Illinois. In the newsroom, Suzanne.
That is wild. That is wild. Wow. That is wild as hell. Wild, wild, wild. Wow. Wow, 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 wow. So I'm going to get up out of here today. I'll see you same time, same place tomorrow. But we did talk about the murder of George Floyd and 5 years later. So with that being said, I want everybody to have a great day and win or fail, freedom or jail, heaven or hell. Wish me well, and y'all have a great one. And here is a gift and a curse by Don Tripp.
I normally don't have much to say. I normally just let the music speak for itself. You know, a nigga been up, a nigga been down. We been everywhere in between. And all this shit, you know what they say, all that glitters ain't gold. We been running this shit, we been running for quite some time. Shit, all this shit look fun, and it's a give and a take, it's pros and cons. I guess you could say it's a gift and a curse. For lack of better words.
Making a living from a microphone come with microaggressions.
One of the many downsides of putting your life on these records. I got a life outside of rapping. Niggas act like that come second. So I might sound aggressive, replying when you write me a message. Guess it's the price of fame, never be quite the same. They say I love you, Lito, you might not like Jermaine. Everybody switched up on me, I got the right to change. Niggas know I got shit to lose, get to playing all types of games. Indictments came a few times. Yeah, I fought though, advise you not to do crime. They say crime pays, but it costs more. Also, you want peace of mind? Yeah, I thought so. Some days I gotta keep them crying cause me and Dolph was close. I don't really fuck with talk shows nor interviews. When they interrogate me on YouTube, I was in the streets, ain't got shit to prove. If you knew the truth, it's a lose-lose. I was really in the headlines, reporting live, talking news crew, talking top story, and that's paranoia. Getting all this money and you can't enjoy it. How you handling problems ain't even yours. Gotta weather the storm when it rains and pours. Say you love me but you ain't loyal. When it goes wrong, I get blamed for it. Clear my mind, I'm trying to cope by grinding more.